If you're in the market for a rotary compressor and you're needing something with a lot of CFM, you have come to the right place. How's it going, everybody? Jeremy here with EMAX Compressor, and today we're going to be walking you through some of the details on one of our 20 horsepower units here. Now this is 3-phase VFD controlled, and at 100 PSI is putting out 85 CFM. Let's jump right into it. Now, rotary compressors are well known for a long life, a lot of CFM, not to mention just how quiet they are. Ours takes it a step further with a number of different things that you guys are absolutely going to love. Now, starting with the heavy-duty construction of the cab assembly itself, on the inside of every one of these panels, we have a very dense fire retardant insulation that actually helps bring the noise levels down even more. Now, everything is operated right here is what's considered the brain of the operation with this touchscreen logic controller. In this, you have the ability as the end user to change and modify whatever you need to fit the parameters that you have as an end user. Now within this is going to monitor your oil pressure, your oil temperature, your air PSI, your maintenance schedule, faults that have come up, your previous faults that have come up. If you want to go in and change what pressure that the compressor kicks on at or kicks off at, or even if you want to schedule what time the compressor comes on in the morning and turns off at night, and you don't have to worry about if it was turned off later on that night by somebody forgetting to hit the switch. You can do that at a touch of a screen. Now, we mentioned earlier about this being a VFD drive. If you're not familiar with VFD, it stands for variable frequency drive. What it's going to do on this is allow it to have a slower start at a lower amperage and slowly ramp up to whatever the compressor needs. Now, the nice part about that is that it's going to control based on whatever parameters you have on that PLC. They'll have more power, less power, depending on what it actually is going to use. Now with that, there's also going to be no harder starts and stops, and it's easy to think about it like more of an electronic gas pedal and brake pedal where you're going to have that nice ramp up and the slowdown on that. That's going to be energy savings because you're not going to be running full power all the time and only what you're going to need. Now it's important to note that we do offer an additional pre-filter for the intakes here for the larger section for the pump, as well as for the smaller one over on the other side for the electric motor. Now these hang where there's already pre-existing holes for the hardware to go. Now that's going to give you one more level of filtration. Now why would you want to run an additional pre-filter on this unit when you already have an intake filter within the inside? It's actually quite simple. Compressors are not always in the cleanest environments, and even those that do take pride in their work and keep the areas clean, well, the dirt can still build up and gum up on the interior. You're trying to keep the interior of the compartment clean, and the cleaner the interior is, the cleaner the air that's going to be going into the components themselves, giving you a longer life on everything on your compressor. Now with the side panels off, you can really see what all makes this rotary compressor very special. Everything from the intake up top to the air ends here, which we'll talk about momentarily. You got multiple filtration as well as all the air lines leading up to the split bar radiator and the cooling fan. On the back side here, we also have one of our industrial electric motors. Now here on the top side are the air ends. Now these are oil injected to help keep them cool and lubricated while they're sitting there spinning. Now if you're not familiar with what air ends are, essentially if you're a gearhead, think of it like a screw style supercharger that's mounted on top of a V8 forcing air down. Now these are the double helixes that are sitting there spinning at a very fast rate, essentially changing the differential pressure and helping force everything down into the system. Now oil is injected in here, and that's for making everything a lot quieter and giving you a longer life. Now, a lot of the air ends that you see out on the market from our competitors, they're good up until about 40,000 run hours until they need to be overhauled and replaced. Ours are good for up to 70,000 hours as long as you're keeping up with your scheduled maintenance. Remember, these are oil injected. That's very important to keep up with your maintenance. Now moving over here to the filtration, you'll see a regular oil filter as well as a special taller one from MAN. Now on the inside of this has got a special glass media inside that helps remove the oil from the air. As we said just a minute ago, on top of the air ends here, as they're spinning, they are oil injected, the air gets combined with the oil and that has to be separated. That's where the special glass media comes into play to help separate that, so the oil goes one way and the air goes the other, and it's all heading up to the split bar radiator, which will help cool everything. Now the cooling fan and split bar radiator system you see here on top is actually serving two purposes. This is going to go through and help cool down the oil that's in the system before it returns back over to the air ends and the rest of the system, as well as cooling down the air before it gets to the point of use, whether it be your tank or your air lines. Now another option to tell you about on our EMAX unit here is that you actually don't have to have an external air tank already at your facility. We have the option to go ahead and have it pre-mounted onto a tank. That's just one of the extra things that we have here. Now another option that that you can consider is that our air dryers, if you don't want to have them all the way down the wall and you want to close up the distance, save some space, we actually have a single-sided swing arm that actually mounts to the cabin itself, allowing you to unpin and move it to one side, giving you plenty of access whenever it comes time to do maintenance on the inside of the unit itself. Now, one last thing to tell you about our compressors and what makes them so special actually starts down here at the bottom with the electric motor. Now, if you've done any research, you'll see that some of our competition out there is actually running their electric motors right around 3,500 RPM, where ours is running at 1,750. Why do we run it at half speed? Well, we found out that running it at 1,750 RPM actually gives us twice the starting torque, giving you a longer lasting, more energy efficient machine. That's something that's going to last you for a number of years. Now, thanks for checking out EMAX compressors and especially our 20 horsepower rotary here. If you have any more questions, please be sure to reach out to us through our website, emaxcompressors.com, or through any of our social media channels at EMAX Compressor.